Our nation's decaying infrastructure has given competitive aid to rising global powers like China. In short, our first world economy cannot survive with third world infrastructure. Thank you for recognizing that. To predict the future of low carbon transportation, one should start with the IIJA's ability to eliminate congestion. Right now, our industry loses $75 billion a year sitting idle in traffic. That's 425,000 drivers sitting for an entire year. That's 6.87 billion gallons of wasted fuel, pumping 67.3 million metric tons of CO2 into our environment. In short, if you want to eliminate emissions, start with the top 100 traffic bottlenecks, of which 22 are in states represented by members of this committee. IIJA monies are more than adequate for fixing existing roads and bridges, and there's plenty more for new capacity too, including truck-only lanes, bypasses, bridges, and parking. There is no reason this administration should have to pick favorites. Another example, ATA worked with the EPA, producing phases 1 and 2 emissions reduction rules. To date, 98.5% of all emissions have been removed from our tailpipes. In fact, 60 trucks today emit what one truck emitted in 1988. These two rules alone cut CO2 emissions by 1.37 million metric tons, saved $220 billion in fuel cost, and reduced oil consumption by 2.5 billion barrels of oil. And the ATA and the EPA created the Smart Way program, saving participating fleets more than 4 billion gallons of fuel, over $19 billion at today's costs. Those fuel savings resulted in massive emission reductions of 2.7 million short tons of nitrogen oxide, 112,000 short tons of particulate matter, and 143 million metric tons of CO2, all by putting the safest, newest, and most environmentally friendly equipment on our roads. This is not a debate about if we get to zero, but when. We will get there, not just on the timelines proposed by California. They're excluding our industry in a mad dash to zero, makes their timelines and targets not only unachievable, but guarantees they will fail. To get to zero, we have to be honest and we have to be transparent about the road ahead. Sourcing rare materials needed for millions of 5,000-pound truck batteries, the infrastructure needed to charge them, and the additional electricity needed to power our trucks full scale doesn't yet exist and won't if you allow California to set the nation's standard. Trucking now moves 72.5% of our nation's freight tonnage. Over the next decade, trucks will be tasked with moving 2.4 billion more tons of freight than they do today. The moment that slows or stops, Americans, your constituents, are going to want answers. The responsible approach is also the realistic approach. Achievable timelines and targets do matter. The ATA will continue supporting policies that are responsible, realistic, and inclusive of our industry. Our written testimony provides this committee with just that, targeting IIJ monies to reducing congestion, creating cost parity between current and future equipment and fuel sources, and the low-hanging fruit, such as drayage, port interconnectors, and safe, secure truck parking. We're committed to a cleaner environment, and we've proven it. We simply ask that we be realistic about the path forward. Do that, and we'll post the best environmental gains possible.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. And while you're at it, please leave us a comment. Thank you for watching.